think I said yesterday that I make my modern day debate debut on Friday. It's on Saturday. Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So there we go. Today, I want to cover this argument that is, it's actually not really all that bad of an argument. It's a difficult one. I sat down for a long time working with it. I actually first encountered it over a year ago, and I kind of haven't really rehearsed this argument because I don't hear, or I haven't rehearsed the counter to it because I don't hear it very often. But I wanted to share this with all of you because you may hear it. And it's the claim that natural selection is not a pathway to knowing what is truth, because natural selection can't select for true beliefs, or it's not necessarily that, but natural selection may select for beneficial false beliefs. So it's not a worldview. A secular worldview cannot help you distinguish or arrive at the truth because of that. I think it's actually a terrible argument. The first time I heard it ever proposed was by this guy on this TikTok video. So we're going to go through it, and I'm going to give the responses to the claims in here. So put all this in your back pocket.
If atheism is true, your mental states are either reducible to or contingent on your brain. Your brain under atheism is just the result of natural selection.
Okay, so we'll pause right there. So what should we consider? I don't understand how this is a weakness. What can we consider about brains? Our brain. So this guy's an apologist. At the very end, he's going to say, "Oh, we don't have this problem because I presuppose that God created the world in order for us to understand it." Absolutely hilarious. But anyways, are brains good at reasoning? No, not all the time, but they do work fairly well. Is the brain magical? No. So could a brain be the product of natural selection? It obviously could. So there's no need to invoke the miraculous here in any way to describe that we have brains or how the brain even works. In fact, things without nervous systems do what reasoning helps us do all the time, which is to solve complex problems. So, for example, slime molds have been shown to be able to, they put them over top of major metropolitan areas like Tokyo, New York, London, and the slime molds are able to create a network within them that is more efficient than the public transportation systems like subway systems in those cities are. People are paid huge amounts of money and get degrees and devote huge chunks of their life to studying this kind of things, and we're beat all the time by things that don't even have nervous systems. So the idea that natural selection can't produce some sort of living system that is able to solve complex problems is it's not just untenable, it's literally known to be false.
Which favors the 4 Fs: feeding, fighting, fleeing, and reproducing. The process which...
That is just giga cringe. That's also not original. I don't know what textbook that's from, but there's this viral clip of like a picture of that going around on the internet.
Produced your brain only focused on how an adaptation helped you survive, not whether the beliefs your brain were producing were true or not. Now,
okay, so the process that produced your brain, natural selection, was only focused on adaptation, helping you survive, not whether or not your beliefs are true. So there's no argument that you can make that reasoning would not help you to survive. By doing reasoning, it increases survivability. That's just so plainly obvious. And also, this kind of person would also propose that humans are a special creation from God and we're specially endowed with particular gifts to make us know about God's existence and God's creation, so on and so forth. Except other animals can do exactly the same kind of thing we can do. I mean, we're better at it. Like a flea is the best jumper in the animal kingdom, but it's not like they were made by the great jumping God. Anyways, birds and primates, they can solve puzzles that have an end goal. And the only way this is possible is if those animals can create a mental model of the task that they're doing, because for these puzzles, the end goal is not visible. to them. And primates have also been shown to do this thing that's really actually kind of incredible. I don't know if I'll be able to explain it in a way that does it justice, but they take chimpanzees, for example, and they'll hang fruit from a ceiling on a string, and it's out of their reach. And what those chimpanzees will do is they'll stack boxes on top of one another in order to reach the high fruit. And they'll do that on their, I did the thing. They'll do that on their first try. And they show great intentionality and deliberation in doing this. I did it. Why is it still doing that? Now, what that means is that they are deliberately planning ahead. So other animals obviously have a sophisticated concept, idea, and understanding of the world around them and how it works. They don't know the laws of physics. They don't have equations. They can't put it into words like we can. But people think that that means that fundamentally we are somehow different just because we're capable of talking about these kinds of things. But no, all of the kinds of like rationality and those sorts of things that we do are intrinsic in other life forms.
Natural selection doesn't care about truth.
So, sorry, I have to pause him quite often here. The claim that natural selection doesn't care about truth is kind of irrelevant because natural selection doesn't need to care about the truth. Reasoning and pattern recognition actually are the things that are selected for, not preordained facts. This is the thing about the argument that makes it kind of fall apart because the person giving it doesn't realize that this is what they're doing, and I didn't realize it for a really long time. But what he's really arguing for, what he's really saying is natural selection can't give you the truth, as in, like, what he means by that is a set of true things. You aren't born with beliefs. That's just completely silly. Even under, I don't know what this guy thinks. Well, if he's a pre-supper or whatever, he does think that you're born believing in God, but I think that's really silly. But natural selection doesn't require that. It doesn't require to select for abstract true statements about the world. You don't have to be born with them. If you have pattern recognition and the ability to do reasoning, which we can see that kind of thing, obviously, in organisms that aren't even us, then a mental model that we are capable of creating that best approximates the actual reality in front of us and allows us to be able to navigate that environment successfully, which is completely unreasonable to think would happen unless there actually are like objective facts about this universe that really exists out there that we can experience that can be selected for. If I can, let's do some simpler examples. A good one would be like raccoons wash their food, right? Now, and that makes it safer for them to eat. They don't know why they do this, but it's beneficial to them, and natural selection can act on that. Even us, we are ignorant about most of our basic reflexes and why they happen, but those reflexes are advantageous, meaning they can easily become widespread among a population. And when we apply that to pattern recognition and reasoning, then the same kinds of results can be seen.
In an atheistic view of the world, there is no reason to trust your cognitive faculties or any of your beliefs.
Okay, that's just completely asinine, and I actually already kind of laid out why that's the case. Our ability to do reason, which is assisted by our brains that are adapted to doing problem solving and create mental models of the world, that is adaptable. So yes, absolutely. Yeah, we trust them because they're adaptable and natural selection can act on them. The hilarious irony in this is, for people like this, in this person's worldview, God and Satan exist. God gave statutes that are not good and that the people he gave them to couldn't follow. He openly admits that he did that. Satan tricks people. This guy, and nobody else like him either, they have no clue if they're doing God's work, Satan's work, or if they're being tested by God. The only thing you can do is appeal to blind faith and circular reasoning. to declare that you're God's special little guy and a special little message was revealed specially for you. More irony is, how does God make you aware of his revelations? Through sense experiences, right? So, somebody's borrowing from our worldview, it looks like. And they do that in far more ways than one. I need to do a better job of pointing this out. They use our model to justify their faith. So a typical response from our side to what they're saying is something like, the reason we can justify or validate reasoning is by its ability to produce reliable, predictable results continuously. So, question for the Christian apologist, without these supposedly fulfilled prophecies of your Bible, would you have any sufficient reason to believe Jesus is God? No. So you rely on the same standard that we do. I'm going to talk more about that specific point later.
Including your beliefs about atheism or an evolution, because the organ which produced those beliefs was formed from a process that was not selecting for truth. If there was an adaptation which caused us to produce false beliefs, and those false beliefs benefited our survival, then natural selection would select for that.
More shooting yourself in the foot, because you are right, and that thing is called religion. Religion is socially beneficial, but false. And how do I know that? Because you also know that. Because you disbelieve or believe that every religion in the world, except for one of the thousands of denominations of your own religion, is false. So what are we to do with the problem that beliefs can be held with conviction but be false? Well, we do exactly what people like this guy do to try to realize that Hinduism is false. Use reasoning, except I would argue use reasoning correctly. Just because somebody holds one false idea doesn't mean that they can't also hold additional true beliefs that are counter to that one false belief. Nobody is meta aware of every single belief that they have. If you have ever, at any point in your life, changed your mind, then you understand how this works. The reason this argument is stupid is because it only works if you claim that every belief a person has is false. False beliefs can be overturned by additional true beliefs that somebody holds that guide the person to a closer sense of the truth. Again, changing your mind demonstrates how this works.
As a result, you just can't be justified in any of your beliefs. Now, in response to this, atheists will try and say, oh, but that's what we have science and reasoning for. We can use these to filter out these false beliefs from the true. Big problem here. Anytime you are doing science or engaging in reasoning, you are assuming the reliability of your cognitive faculties. But that is exactly what is under question here. So,
literally, no. What you just described there is called armchair philosophy, and it's what you do. It's not what we do. We don't just assume that our reasoning is correct, because then science wouldn't even be necessary. Science proves ideas wrong all the time. Our ideas, models, reasoning, strategies, and all those things, they are constantly tested, improved, and they're confirmed for their reliability. And once again, the hilarious irony here is people like this guy, this is exactly how they justify their worldview too. If you know that your worldview is correct and you presuppose it to be correct, why do people feel the need, like this guy, feel the need to empirically validate it? Why do they claim that the Bible is historical and rely on these claims of prophecies being fulfilled and miracles happening and 500 witnesses to these things? Why are they taking the empiricist approach? It's because that even they know that that's how you actually justify a claim.
Any attempt at using science to justify the reliability of your cognitive faculties is just going to be circular. The next response is for atheists to say, Well, cognitive faculties which produce true beliefs are more likely to benefit our survival, so those will get selected for. And thus, we should expect for a population to have cognitive faculties that are generally reliable. There is an even bigger problem with this. Let's say that I just grant this, and I say, okay, you know what, cool. Cognitive faculties which produce true beliefs are more likely to aid in survival, and thus true beliefs are in a sense selected for. And as a result, humans have cognitive faculties that are generally reliable. Okay, cool. Guess what? The overwhelming amount of humans throughout history have believed in the existence of a God and the supernatural. And in fact, modern cognitive science of religion has shown that this belief in God is what our cognitive faculties, they just naturally come to that belief. So
Okay, first of all, that last thing you said is completely false. I have a debate about that on my channel. Somebody told me that there's this published paper where people naturally believe in God, which is not true. What the paper demonstrated was that when children are told explicitly, like when they're given explicit instruction about God concepts, they readily accept them. People try to pass that off as we have an innate sense of belief in God, and that's like literally not at all the case. That's not even what the research is indicating. But going back to what he was saying, the guy could not have spent any more time thinking about this than, apart from him uttering the words, because it's so incredibly stupid. Humans believe in God means God exists. Anybody who believes in any God can make that claim. Now, that may not sound like a huge problem, but if an argument can be made for any claim, including contradictory claims, then it's a completely invalid argument, because this is what we end up with. Humans believe in God, therefore multiple gods that claim to be the only true God exist. That's obviously not how that works, so this doesn't really go anywhere.
Congrats, you played yourself. If you really want to say that true beliefs will be selected for, then you should believe in the supernatural, because natural selection has selected for and given us cognitive faculties which naturally produce that belief. And you can't just turn around and say, oh, well, the supernatural is false, but it gives us some...
So this is an argument for reincarnation and whatever the hell Dharma is, and all of the supernatural beliefs of other religions that this person rejects. And he's just somehow, they always pretend that it's because this is what they believe. They're not honest. They're not actually theists. They masquerade as theists, but every single thing they present only works if you assume the exact religion they believe exists or no God exists. There's no plurality in any of this. These are not general theistic arguments.
Survival benefit, and that's why it was selected for. Because if you say that, you're contradicting the argument that natural selection will produce cognitive faculties which favor true beliefs. And then you're stepping right back into my original argument, which is that you cannot trust your cognitive faculties. So no matter how you guys want to play this, you lose, okay? In contrast, theists don't have this problem, because we believe that our cognitive faculties were specifically created with the goal of accuracy and were intended to know things about the external world. Thus, theism furnishes a conceptual framework that allows for reason, science, and knowledge. Well,
oh man, okay, yeah, I don't need to hear the rest of this. So it was very interesting the way he said that atheists can't justify their beliefs, but all he did was assert what his belief is. He didn't make any justification. He just claimed what his claim is. And that's because people like this cannot justify any of their claims beyond blind faith and circular reasoning. There's a lot to all of that, and this was a little bit rushed on my part, so hopefully it's not too clunky. Hopefully you're able to use that. By all means, whatever feedback or additional points you have, I love reading those. I get tons of, I always forget what they are, but tons of comments that you guys leave, I read, and I think that's a really good point. I'm going to save that for later. So thank you, all of you, for that, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow.